Hi everyone, and welcome back to my series where we're going to get to know my favorite people in the world of trampoline, tumbling, and double mini. I'm going to continue with the Great Britain DMT women's team who won silver medal in the World Championships in 2019 in Japan. So I'd like to welcome the European and World Silver Team medalist and European individual DMT finalist, Ruth Shevelan. Hi Ruth, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How's lockdown been going? Have you been busy?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
But you haven't finished work though, have you?
No, I still work full time just at home. So I'm working, this is my office. I work here full time and then I just don't go anywhere else. So
What's your job?
I'm an engineer.
Okay, what kind of engineer?
I'm a mechanical engineer by background, but I work designing like high speed 2 and high speed 3, so railway networks. So
it's a bit like we have two now. We've two engineers in the thing. I know there's two different types of engineers, but it seems to be a common trend in DMT. So what's your day been like then?
My day, so I start work about 7:30. I don't have to, like I could work later, but I'd prefer to get it out of the way with. Start about 7:30, meetings all day. Spend my whole life on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and designing. We're doing like impact assessments of new railways at the moment, and then finish work at about 4, and then I condition for about, I think I did 3 hours today.
What?
You've met Phil, right? You've met Phil. And me. Yeah. Yeah, so I did about 3 hours and then I ate and now I'm talking to you. So standard.
Right. We're going to get into the questions because we've got quite a lot to get through because you've quite an interesting career. And it's different to everyone else on the team, so that's why I was really interested to talk to you. So give us a bit of insight. How did you get started in trampoline gymnastics?
So my friend wanted to go to an adult class, but she didn't want to go on her own. So I agreed to go with her. So I'll have been 16 or 17. I think I was 17 at the time. But yeah, she refused to go on her own. She was like, you have to come with me because I don't know anyone. And then it escalated, I guess.
Where was the class?
Trafford Trampoline Club. It's in Manchester. So that's where I first started out.
And did you go regularly? Was that a thing then every week? Did you get hooked at that stage?
Yeah, so I did like an adult class once a week and then I moved into their like club sessions, I guess. I was awful. It was really bad. But they had a mini in the background that I just used to mess around on because I wanted more turns, which hasn't really changed. So I just messed around on the mini in the background, and then one of the girls there also trained at what's now Dynamo. They used to be called Stockport, and they train mini properly. So I ended up moving across to Dynamo to train mini properly because that's what I was more interested in.
Oh, okay, is that how you got into? I wasn't sure how you moved to Dynamo. I wasn't sure if you went to uni trampolining or what.
I moved before I started uni. But then I stayed in Manchester so that I could stay with Sarah Michelle at Dynamo. So.
And at that stage, what kind of level were you at? What kind of skills were you doing?
So when I moved over to Dynamo, I'd like to say I could do a Barani. I'm not really sure it was a Barani. It was a flip with a twist in an unspecified shape. And then within about 2-3 months of being at Dynamo, we were doing like doorbacks and fulls, and suddenly it all just kind of started to click. So yeah, like the adult classes, I think it took me 8 months to learn how to do a tuck Barani. Like,
okay. Because I know in a lot of clubs, I was talking about this with Phil actually earlier on, Phil and Tom. If you came to most clubs at that age with that skill level, there probably wouldn't be a space in the club for you. So what was different about Dynamo? Was it just more inclusive? What was their structure?
So I guess they'll coach anyone who loves it. Anyone who wants to do the sport, they will give 100% of their energy to. It doesn't matter whether you are NDP1 or a world champion. Everyone is just as important as everyone else. And it's about getting the best out of each individual. So I guess a 17-year-old who could barely Barani, but clearly would work hard, was given a chance. And
then who coached you there?
Sarah and Michelle. So they're sisters, and they're a great team, a really good team. So
did they encourage you to get into competition? Was that where things started?
So to start with, I was still competing trampoline for Trafford and DMT for Dynamo. Yeah, a long time ago. And then I ended up moving and just doing trampoline and DMT at Dynamo. But yeah, so I started with them, and it was the days of like Nat C and Fig B and stuff.
So like when it was like a couple of levels below the national elite level.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was national level at the time, but it was more like NDP 5-6 equivalent now.
So like, for anyone who doesn't know, the NDP structure in Great Britain is like our development structure towards elite level. So National Development Plan is what NDP starts with, and we've got like 5 levels now. Well, there used to be 6 or 7, but now we've cut down to 5.
Yeah, so I guess to start with, like my first competition, I was doing like Baksumi Barani and Barani Baksumi, and I might have tried a Rudy and probably fell over. So yeah, that's what I started.
At that point, did you know, so Michelle and Sarah's background in high performance sport, like obviously in 2005, they had Nicola Pugh, who was I think she was a finalist at the World Games. Were you aware of that background that they had in coaching? Not
really. Like it soon clicked. I soon figured it out and watched YouTube and stuff like that. But when I started training there, they also had like Naomi Warner, who was world age, and Will Flaherty, who was world age as well. So they had quite a few when I started who were competing world age. So it was clear that you could get as far as you were willing to get yourself, if you know what I mean, under them. They were fab.
And at that point, was that something you saw for yourself? Were you there just for fun, or did you want to push yourself to try and be elite level? Or
I didn't even know what elite level was. Like I never just did a sport for fun. That's not my personality. Like I was doing it to be as good as I could be. But my aim, like 4 or 5 months after being at Dynamo and properly training, I think my aim was to qualify for what would have been Fig B Nationals. That was my ultimate goal in life. Like that was all I ever wanted. And all I needed to be able to do was I think I had to score like 59 or 60.
Oh, wow.
So I needed to be able to land Barani double back and Baksumi half out or something. If I could do that, then that was my ultimate goal. And then, well, I got a bit better, I guess.
You're saying that you never did a sport just for fun. What was your sporting background before that?
I was a sailor.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's not really that transferable. So
well, Tom Holman, the national coach, he did the same thing.
Yeah, that was a weird thing to find out when I first made the team. So yeah, from about the age of 9 or 10, I'd competed sailing. That's what I did until I was 16.
And how competitive were you at sailing?
I was pretty competitive, so like regional, bordering national level. Like I wasn't as good as I am at this sport now. Got a little bit stuck. It's quite financially driven.
Oh, okay.
It's not to say I couldn't have got further. I don't know. But it got to the point where it was just like boats are quite expensive.
Yeah. Okay. But did you always have that competitive drive, even in sailing, that you wanted to be better and better and better?
Everything has that competitive drive. It's not just
because I've seen you've won awards in your professional life as well.
Yeah.
And so in every part of your life, are you that obsessed, or so I suppose success isn't the best word, but it's a good word to kind of be better and better and better all the time?
Yeah, I don't do anything for the sake of it. Like I guess driven is probably, like I don't have that much time because I fit so much in. So if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it properly.
And do it right. So you're saying your aim was to be Fig B, which was the level at the time that was just below. Our senior level was called Fig A, and you could be just below that would be Fig B at the British Championships. And did you achieve that?
Yeah, I think I did actually.
You got there?
I think in about 3 or 4 years after I started, I did that. I was pretty proud of myself. That was it. That was my goal. That was all I thought I would ever manage, and that was a stretch, like at the time.
Yeah, because then looking back on the results, obviously we switched in 2014 from that system to our NDP system, and it moved that your level would no longer be at the British Championships. It would be at a level just below, which we call the NDP Finals, which was like our national level finals, but it wasn't the British Championships. Were you okay then moving to NDP, or did you think that was your fizzle out phase?
Well, there was no way in 2014 that I could have gone over to elite. Like, it wasn't even considered or looked at. Like, I was struggling with quite a lot of injuries as well. So, like Barani double back, like single doubles was me pretty much maxed out around then.
Okay.
So I did 2014 and 2015. I did NDP 7. I had a beautiful straight Barani full. Like, I got a 9.9 for my straight Barani full. Proudest moment of my career.
Oh, wow.
I think I snapped as well, so I'm not sure what the judges were watching. So I competed NDP 7 for 2 years. I did pretty well. Like, I think I won most things for about 2 years, and then in 2016 they changed the rules again slightly. So the level I'd been competing at then dropped to regional. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I still want to compete on a national level if possible. But the other option to elite was NDP 8, and it had a Rudy mount in it. And I can't do Rudies.
Oh, so it had like specific passes that you had to do.
They were really prescribed passes, and one of them was Rudy mount double back, and I think we spent about 6 months trying to learn this damn pass, and we went elite.
But that way, because when I'm looking at the results, I could find in 2014 NDP finals you came 8th at NDP 7, and then there's not much until 2017. So was that the stage you were trying to kind of push to be elite or be NDP 8? Yeah,
kind of. So 2016 is the first time I competed elite, and within a try, see if we could do it. Like, probably the first time I put like double doubles together. 2016 I didn't qualify for British. Like, it was just a case of trying to compete at that level. I felt.
And did you find it okay? Did you find you felt you belonged, or how did you find it? The process?
I think I belong, Simon. I'm still not sure I'm in the right place when I turn up. So no is the answer to that one. 2016 was really daunting. Really daunting moving into something like that because you're senior. I could never do age group. Yeah. I haven't moved through with any of these girls. Like, I didn't know anyone. Like, you don't get that opportunity.
And did it feel daunting as the newbie who didn't know anyone? Did you feel like just a bit out of place?
Always, yeah. yeah, that was me. So
then moving towards 2017, obviously, what changed then to make that little bit of difference that you qualified for the British Championships?
Just worked harder. I just worked so hard in 2017. The score, I will never forget, 2017, the aim of 2017 was to qualify for British. That's all I wanted. I was like, so I'd gone for my Fig B goal and I'd hit that. And then it was like, okay, let's compete elite. Maybe we could qualify for British at elite. Like, maybe that could be my like top thing. And the score was 128. So across 4 passes, so 64 around. Okay. If you put 4 simple double doubles down, you could do it. And I scored 128.1 in the last one. Or something ridiculously close. I might have got a little bit higher than that. And I've never been so happy. I qualified for British, and I was just over the moon. I had to compete double back spotter. It was awful, because otherwise there was no way I was going to get the score.
So at the beginning of that year, was like, okay, we're going to make the British Championships. Did you sit down with Michelle and like plot out your passes and exactly what you're going to do to get there? Or was it a bit more free and fluid? I can't remember. We will have planned it. We will have planned how, and we will have sat down and worked out, okay, so this is the score. This is what you're going to need to do if you want to get anywhere near that score. This is your margin for error kind of thing. So yeah, it will have been planned out. And I do remember a lot of tears over double back spotter, because I had to do it. I didn't have another pass that I could put in. So yeah. So you went into 2017 British Championships and you finished 8th. And it was actually, you started getting a bit of recognition because you did, like, I think in each round you had one really strong pass where you're maybe second in that round, and then maybe one weaker pass. And I think that, so you finished in 8th. How did that experience feel?
So 2017 British, I might not have been the smartest person going into that. I upgraded a lot. So I qualified, and then I was like, oh, I've got new skills. I want to do all of them. And then I guess one of my biggest strengths and weaknesses is if I set my mind to something, that's it, I'm doing it.
Determined.
So I did what I was competing at that British, and well, I was doing it. So I wanted to put in my back in full, and I wanted to put in my full, and the back in full went really well. The full did not. It wasn't awful, but it didn't land, and then I messed up another pass, and so I think I had 2 out of the 4 passes were decent, and 2 were pretty shocking.
Yeah, that's what, looking back, that's why I kind of saw that really strong passes, and the ones that went well went really well.
Yeah, and the ones that didn't.
So it was the glimpses of what was to come, in a way.
Yeah, and I guess the glimpses of what I've been doing in training.
Were you the person who always drilled, pass, and exactly what your coach told you to do?
Yeah, of course I was. You should. Oh, I don't think my book's in here. I have a tally sheet, and if there's not like hundreds, I won't compete.
Really? Yeah. So what if before you do a new move, what is in your head the figure of the amount of times or pass that you have to do it in training? Is there like a set figure, or is it just a general? It has to be.
There's not a set figure. There probably would have been before 2019, but 2019 we'll talk about in a bit. But everything shifted quite rapidly. So before that, but we used to just do 3 a session, and that's what we did. And we'd rattle them out, and they were great. And then sometimes it didn't happen in comp, but yeah, I do my passes in training. I couldn't turn that if I hadn't.
Going into the 2017 British, obviously that was a trial for the World Championships in 2017. When you were going into it, were you expecting, were you thinking in the back of your head about the scores for Worlds, or was it just get my passes down, see what happens?
I didn't even know. I don't think I had a form in,
Oh, okay.
I think even if I'd had a miraculous day, I couldn't have gone. Imagine if those 4 passes had all gone well and I'd actually done well. I don't think they could have taken me because I don't think I had a form in. I don't know. If I did, Michelle didn't tell me, which is probably a good thing. So no, the goal of 2017 was to go to British. I was just trying to scrape my way there.
So you went to British. You made the final, obviously. And how did you feel afterwards? Was that a good result? Did you feel disappointed? Did you feel really happy? What was the feeling after?
Mixed. It was kind of I was really happy because clearly there was a few bits that I showed that proved I should be there.
Yeah.
And that to me was important. And then a few bits where I didn't show what I could do in training. And that's what always hurts me most. I don't show what I do in training. So mixed, I guess.
Was 2017 the year that you made the English squad?
Yes. So 2017 was actually, every year has been a bit of a roller coaster, I guess. They always are. So 2017, we then had English Championship after British. And my goal, once I'd done British, it was I want to be on that England team. I think maybe I could maybe I could be on the England squad. Maybe I'm good enough for that. And then English Championships, I was leading after 3 passes. It went really well. I'd done my part. I think we took the full out because, well, it didn't land. So we took that out and it was going really well. And then my 4th pass, I did piked half out spotted something, I don't know what. And the piked half out wasn't classed as piked. So from 1st to 5th, because I lost all the tariff, didn't hit the England squad score. And then I think cried for about 3 days. Yeah, I was devastated. I think that's the closest I've ever got to quitting. I was devastated.
Because that was your big goal then. I think I should explain to people as well that, because I think a lot of people might mix up, that the English squad, Great Britain is made up of Scotland, England, Northern Ireland and Wales. And the English squad is just a squad of the region of England. And then the GB Great Britain squad is just a step above that. So you wasn't the Great Britain squad, it was the English squad. Yeah,
and I really wanted to make that England squad. And after leaving English Championships and crashing at British as well, I didn't have a score. So I didn't think I would be in. And then I think that Monday was the first time I didn't go training ever.
Oh, wow. That's a big thing for you.
Yeah. That's not what I do. I think I actually got there at it starts at 4:30, and I think I got there at about 6:30 because I couldn't quite stay awake. couldn't.
But it was probably enough of a message to your coaches that you weren't there for all.
Oh, Sarah and Michelle that weekend were incredible. Like, I will never forget that. And they didn't make me train. No one needs to make me train, but they didn't mind how I did. They just wanted to make sure I was okay.
Okay.
And then about 2 days later, I was on the England squad with a little star next to my name saying I've been wildcarded in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I got wildcarded onto the England squad, and I had this little asterisk next to my name that says you have to prove in spring series next the 2018 that you're worthy of the spot and that you can stay. Oh, wow. So like, I was on it for a trial period of a few months, and then I had to prove the next year that I deserved to stay on that team.
So how did it feel going to your first English training session? Was it a big...
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was at Lilleshall. Like,
oh yeah.
I started as someone who couldn't Barani, and suddenly I'm at the National Sports Centre. Like, it was so exciting. And I was like, what, 24, 25? Like, and I was like a little kid. Like, I was so excited that someone thought I was good enough to train where these amazing people trained. So
do you think it gave you that boost of confidence?
Yeah, it did. Because then when I started training with the England squad, that's the first time I got to train with the people I was competing against.
Okay.
So I trained, there was like, obviously my teammates at Dynamo, but there wasn't anyone else. There was people at the same level as me. So me and Chris and Hannah came through together. But obviously Chris competed men's, Hannah was like 13, so they weren't doing the same stuff. And then I turned up at the England squad and it was like, oh, I can do the same that they can do. Oh, I can do skip. Like, it just clicked a little bit that maybe I was all right at this.
Was that like stuff like Charlotte Mail and all those ones in that group together?
So it was me, Charlotte Mail, Emma Pickthall, Becky Jarrett. There was about 4 or 5 of us.
It was really girls in Britain who were just off making the Great Britain team. Yeah,
it was a really strong England senior women's team. And we all pushed each other for a good like year or so, and we were all competing at least 4 double doubles, and we were pushing the edge of Great Britain, I guess. I didn't realise at the time, but I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Did that feel like the pinnacle, or did that feel like, okay, this is my stepping stone to GB? What was in your head?
I wasn't going to make the GB team. Very daft. No, I really wanted to compete for Volton. Like, I wanted to keep my place on the team. I wanted to get rid of that star next to my name and keep my place on the England squad for the whole year. And then they were going to Volton Cup in like the May, and I wanted to be selected for that because I think there was too many senior women, so it was still going to be a fight to get those spaces. I can't remember, but yeah, my aim was to stay on the England squad.
So your aim for 2018 really was stay in the England squad and represent England at the Volton Cup in Sweden.
Yeah.
So when did Europeans come into the mix?
So I think at the end of, so for those who don't know, if you're not on the Great Britain team, you have to apply to trial for things.
Yeah. Because we talked about that with Kim, and she was refused to come at 2016 by Phil.
So we had to apply to trial, and Sarah and Michelle were like, we want you to go forward for it. And I was like, no. I'm not trialing for Europeans. What's the point? Like, and the end of 2017 had been quite rough for me. Like, I'd crashed at British, I'd crashed at English, I'd been wildcarded in, and then I actually got entered for like something called a league competition, and I did a league competition and got a load of confidence from that in the December. It just went really well. I did like, I think I competed like 9 times and did 9 out of 9 passes across various things. And it's like, oh no, you can do your passes. Like, you just messed up. Like, you can do this. So that helped. But then it was, well, what's the point in me going to the Euros trial? Like, I'm nowhere near what everyone else can do. There's no point in me going. I'll just look completely out of place. No chance. And eventually, over the space of about 2 weeks, I think they persuaded me. And it turns out afterwards, Michelle told me afterwards, she was like, well, I'd already signed the form for you. So even if you hadn't agreed, even if you hadn't agreed, I was going to put it in. I'm not sure if she would have, but I did agree. And I agreed to go to the trial, or put forward to ask to trial, because I had to ask to trial to start with. Yeah. Well, they'll reject me anyway. So that'll get rid of that bit. And then they went, oh no, you can trial if you send us videos. So we have to send us videos to prove that I was of the right level. But we only had like 2 weeks to fit it in. And I had to be in Prague for work for a week and a half of that. So
Wow.
I had one session. I had one training session to get all 4 passes to a hard landing area, looking like I could make some kind of Europeans team in like the January. So you're in the middle of off season anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a hella stressful training session. But I did it. I got my 4 passes down, sent them off. Off I went to Prague, didn't think anything of it. Sent 4 okay passes. And then they were like, yeah, come trial. It's like, oh, what?
Then when you were accepted to trial, did you go, okay, I'm just going to do it for fun? Or did a little bit in your head think, oh, maybe I could, if I pull out like I did at League, or if I pull out like I did the good ones at British, I might make up?
No, I'm quite good at selective evidence against myself. So League, it was just because, well, it was different judges, and British, the good ones were a fluke. So no, that stuff never went into my head that Euros was a thing. I agreed to go to the Euros trial so that I knew what a trial was like.
Okay, experience.
Just experience, yeah.
Did you like going in then, kind of being the underdog at trial? Like I don't know if people know, but our Europeans trial that's held in February usually is a closed trial. There's no audience. It's just coaches, judges, and gymnasts. It's quite intense. Did you like that the focus wasn't on you?
Yeah, there was no focus, and that was good, but it was a scary place to compete. It wasn't what I was expecting. And I was really lucky that I'd been to Lilleshall before through England squad, because had I not, that would have been awful. But it's silent. There was no one there. There was no parents. There's no
seats. There's no music even.
We got music turned on. Yeah. So it was quite intimidating, quite scary, but then no pressure at the same time. So it was good.
It was a good thing to go in. Because I remember you turning up, and I had seen you at British, and I had said when I saw one of your passes, because I was in the audience, said, who is that? And someone told me your name. But I won't lie, I forgot your name. So when I saw the name on the list, I was like, I don't know who that is. And then you turned up at the trials, and I had Ryan and stuff trialing. But after they were done, we just watched your trial. And I remember watching your trial going, who is she? Was it a shock? Explain how the trial went.
So the previous year at British, we put a load of tariff in, and it hadn't really worked. And we backed off a little bit for English, and then backed off a little bit more for League, but not all the way. And then we put the same passes out for the trial. So 4 decent passes. We switched one of them round a little bit tactically so that I had a 6-4. So we put the pike top out with the backing full so that I showed 1 big pass.
Okay.
But it was 4 solid passes that I'd probably done 150 of each, like easily, and I just went and did them again. I know that well. Things like I just did them again, and then I came second. And
was that a big shock?
Yeah, because there's no scores either at a trial. If you've never been, there's no live scores, there's no nothing. So someone had written it all down on this piece of paper, and Chris was like, "You came second," and I was like, "No, we didn't." And
you hit the selection score as well.
I can't remember. I didn't even know what the score was. Like, I wasn't there to make the team.
So after you came second at trial, and obviously you don't find out on the day if you're on the team. Did you think you were on the team then?
That was the worst week of my life. Like, it was so stressful because they tell you things will be released on a certain day, and
they never are.
The selection process a few times, they're not. but the first time you do that, you assume that when the selection policy says it will be announced on this day and this will happen then, it will happen then, and it didn't. So I got all the way through the week, and in my head it was like, well, you came second, but a few other really good people had maybe not done as well as they thought they were going to. It's like, well, they'll put them in because they've got experience. I crashed British. Like, there's no way they're going to take someone who just happened to have a good day. And everyone around me just kind of went, yes, Ruth, and let me carry on with that. And then all week I was refreshing the BG website and work. I'm not sure I got any work done that week. And then nothing. And then it was the weekend. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll find out next week. I didn't know anyone to message. I didn't know anyone to find out.
Yeah. You weren't in the loop.
No.
So,
and then on Saturday, Sarah Madge messaged me going, congratulations. I was like,
Sarah Madge is Bethany Williamson's coach, yeah.
But I knew her quite well because she was the England squad coach.
Okay.
So she messaged me going, congratulations. I was like, what for? She was like, go on the BG website. I was like, oh my God, I have never screamed so loud. I was so excited. I just danced.
When she said that to you, go look at the BG website, like, did your heart start going? And
well, but she said congratulations. So, and then by that point, a few other people had started messaging me congratulations who clearly had like notifications turned on BG or something. So that was a good sign. I will never forget that day.
So it probably took you a while to believe it was happening, did it?
No, once it was on the sheet, it was like, oh, okay. You know, the funniest thing though, it was like, oh, I can't retain my England squad spot.
And you know what, that's one of the things I was going to ask you is, how did it feel? Because obviously at that stage, once you qualified to represent Great Britain at senior level, you progressed onto the Great Britain team, obviously. How did that feel, leaving the England team? Because I know you were comfortable there.
Yeah, I loved it. I really liked it there, and they let me do one last squad, which was nice. They let me do
squad.
They let me do one more England squad, and then I moved up, I guess. I was just gutted that I managed. My goal for 2018 was to retain my England squad spot, and I managed to get myself kicked off. So
you didn't get kicked off; you got promoted. You moved on. So, what did it feel like going to the first camp with the GB thing? Was it different to England?
Right, there was 7 people there. It was weird. So that Euros was a really small team. It was
only 1 man and 4 girls, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the juniors wasn't a full team either. It was 2 girls and 3 junior boys.
Yeah.
It was quite a small team. And then that first camp, someone wasn't there for family. Someone had hurt themselves. Like I think there was only about 6 or 7 gymnasts, and we were there for 4 days. And you know what the overriding memory from that squad is? I was so bored.
Oh, really?
We only trained like once or twice a day, and we only did like 2 passes, and then that was it. I was like, well, what do I do now? Because and I realise now you're prepping for what it's like when you get to the competition.
Yeah.
You're not there just to train and you're there to replicate what the comp's going to be like. So
yeah, you get there to make little differences, little things, but really warm up and perform on demand, really, isn't it? So, and one of the things I remember about that, because I was always there judging, because I was coaching the junior team and I was judging whenever the senior team ran, but you were like the most consistent person ever. Like every time I judged you, it went first pass, 0.3 deduction, 0.4 deduction, 0.1 for step, second pass, 0.4 deduction, 0.3 deduction, 0.1 for step.
Yeah.
And did you pride yourself on that?
They were the same passes I'd been doing since League and League and English the year before. So they were so drilled. They were so comfortable. We were trying to improve them a little bit, but I was going to my first international ever. That is not the place to go try stuff out. Like,
so you'd never had, the biggest competition you'd done before Europeans was British? Oh, wow.
Never left nothing.
Did that play on your mind a little bit?
No, not really. It was just the comp that it was. You've got to represent first somewhere, haven't you? Like,
yeah.
I think now it's quite obvious that it was a big thing, but at the time it wasn't. And yeah, that consistency got rid of the big thing, I guess, because I didn't have to. My passes were so within my comfort zone. I just did them. It didn't matter what time of day it was, where we were, how many warm-ups we'd had. Well, I just did them. So, and
you know what? That was probably perfect for your first event because it eliminated that bit of stress for you.
There was no variables with my performance side. Sarah Michelle made sure that what I was doing I was comfortable with, and it was the first time I'd been away and coached by a different coach. Like, first time with a different team, I didn't know any of my teammates. Like, everything else was different, but my passes weren't.
Yeah,
it was important.
So what were your goals going into Europeans?
Land on my feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I wanted to perform under the pressure. I wanted to show what I did in training. That was my sole goal.
Did you do was there any kind of psychological build up to that? Like, did you do mock comps in training to build it up to that?
Yeah, all the time. Loads of mock comps, loads of tallies on the sheet, just loads of, yep, you can do this, yep, So you were saying like you got those deductions for me every time. They were all written in my book. Sarah did the same. She's a judge. Like I just have sheets and sheets and sheets of how many times I've done these passes under pressure successfully.
So when you stood at the end of the track for the prelims for Europeans, were you calm? Were you just so confident in your passes that you were able to stay calm, or did you feel a little bit of the event or the enormity of the event?
You know, the only time I think I felt the enormity of the event was when we first went into podium training, because it was on a podium.
Yeah, that was different for everyone.
Well, yeah, which kind of helped, but it was really loud. Like you're running along it, and it was really noisy. So that was a bit big. And actually getting accreditation, that was big. I don't know, it's just really weird. Like you don't do that. Someone takes your picture and like asks you how high, how tall you are and how much you weigh, and you're like, I don't want you to know that. Like, you want to put that on a big screen somewhere. So that felt official.
And the Azerbaijan Federation, they got you to do the whole look down and look up thing, and it was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was and looking back, it was a really well hosted event. It was a big professional event, and that was the first one I'd been to, so that's my expectation level.
So did you feel like that was kind of like the more professional, like the professionalism of competing internationally?
Slightly, but by that point, British gymnastics, like British is like that.
Yeah.
British prepares you for an international. Like I'm not sure any other country gets quite that. Like you go to British Championships and it's the same.
Yeah, it's like championships.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's separated areas, it's accreditation, it's only in certain areas at certain times, like those little things, marching out, like, yeah, it doesn't feel any different. British gymnastics do a brilliant job of replicating that. So
then you did your prelims and you're in second. How did that feel? Like that must have been immense.
I couldn't process it. Like I didn't, and then I was like, oh God, I've got to do more. Like, okay, we're not done yet. Oh my God, I'm in the European final. But I think what really hit me was I wasn't just in the European final, I'd qualified in second. Yeah. I was like, what? Like, how has this happened? And for like the Great Britain team, the girls are, I mean, they're incredible. Like our team.
Well, we were all in the top 5 at that stage of Britain, Europeans.
We knew going into Europeans, like I'm not completely blinkered, like two Brits were going to be in that final. It was never in my head that it was going to be me, but we knew 2 Brits were going to be in that final because of how many other people were competing. So yeah, that was a surreal week.
So was it elation and then of dread going, oh my God, I have to do finals?
No, not dread. That was just going to be enjoyment. Like I had no tariff left in that final. Like, and I drilled my prelims passes, and I could do my final passes, but not to the same. I wasn't going to do them. So I didn't do as many of them. And there was no pressure on in that final.
So when you went into the, so obviously Great Britain made the team final as well. I mean, we were in first place in the team final, I think. Going into the team final, yeah. So like, did that, because you had never done a team final, you'd done individual competitions, you'd done British, but a team final where the team total depends on you. How did that feel? Was there different pressure?
I was quite lucky, I guess, because the first team final I got to do was Europeans, and it's 4 up 3 count. Okay. So there's a little bit less pressure. It's still pressure, and it feels different because you're competing for your team, not for yourself. But there's a little bit less because, you know, if you mess up, well, at least one person can mess up, I guess. So I didn't, but it takes a little bit off. The bit I found hardest about team final actually was, I've said how drilled I was in my passes and what I did in terms of what order. It doesn't work when you've only got one.
Yeah.
My first pass, and I was like, oh, now I have to do my second pass without doing my first one. And that threw me a little bit.
Yeah, it's very different, isn't it?
It's really different. Just going out and doing one touch compete in itself is different.
Yeah.
But I loved that team final, and I did my pass just like I did any other day for the last 6 months, and that was nice.
What did it feel like being on the podium with the other girls?
Weird. I think it's a bit of mixed emotion because I was really happy just the whole week. I was just I guess I was really naive. Like I didn't even know who I was competing against because I'd never looked that high. Like I'd never looked at international people. It wasn't a thing. And I was really happy because I did my pass as well as I could in that team final. So I was pleased with silver, but there was a slight feeling in the team that we wanted the gold. So
Yeah.
it was that hit me a little bit. It's like, but I was really happy.
Yeah.
So that
Did
was
it take away from your enjoyment a little bit?
a little bit, yeah. Which is okay, but yeah.
Yeah, it's when that expectation, especially when you've qualified in first, and maybe that expectation is for gold. So then you go into the individual finals, and obviously we know now that one pass didn't go to plan, a really harsh call on your spotter, and you got a 0 pass. What did that feel like at the time?
Again, gutted because I didn't show what I could do in training.
Yeah.
I felt it was a harsh call.
It was a very harsh call. I was on the floor.
For those that don't know, I didn't quite clear the red line when you jump over, and it went 0, which I'm fairly certain I can't do a double straight from the mount, so it can't have been that bad. But it was, and it was called 0. And I think the bit I've struggled with most though is I don't like to know how I'm doing in a comp. I keep it very like, don't look at scores, this, that, and the other. But at an international, they announce it on big screens and they shout about it, and actually you guys kept it away from me, and it was Mary, our doctor. She was like, "Why did they give it 0?" I was like, "Oh, I didn't know. Didn't know they gave it 0." So
me and Tom were on the floor, and we were like, just get it ready for the next pass. And then, like you say, Mary comes over and
I did my second pass, so actually I was really proud of, and that second pass was actually really quite good.
I remember, because I remember vividly, it was steps just behind where we were standing, and you were on that step and you were having a bit of a cry. And then straight away, you just picked yourself up. I think it was like, right, okay, I have to go and do my second pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was give yourself your moment, and then, okay, I need to do my second pass. And you went and you did your job, and that was something as a coach, it was really impressive, especially at your first time at an international, first time in a final, a major, not just a small final, but you were able to do that switch. So give me an idea of what your competitive spirit was like.
Yeah, and I wasn't going all that way and doing all that work to then mess up a pass and then give up on myself for a second one. I was like, well, no, let's show them that actually I deserve to be in this final, and I do have stuff left and I can perform in a final. So that was for me. If you see that switch, that's to prove to myself. That's
good. And that's what you need, is that everything is just for yourself. You do it, and if you can do your best for yourself, then the outcome will be what the outcome will be. Yeah. So then after Europeans, we've got the rest of the year, and obviously there's the World Championships that year. Did you change much? Did that give you more belief after that?
Yes. I think the real belief kind of kicked in, not from Euros, not from that. The consistency at that point, I was like, okay, no, I can do my passes, I can perform, and I can do them in comp. Like, that confidence came. But I think I went to the first GB camp and I was working upgrades and stuff, and I was looking around and I was like, I'm doing the same as everyone else. And I'd kind of, in my head, I was doing my clean, relatively simple passes, but my upgraded stuff was the same that everyone else was working on, and that was like, oh, that was an eye-opening moment. But then 2018, I put too much pressure on myself to make that Worlds team. I hurt myself in the summer, and then...
What happened in the summer? How did you hurt yourself?
I crashed at a camp. I landed on my knee, splatted a half and half, piked, I think, on Tom, maybe, on one leg. It wasn't good, and then couldn't walk for about 2.5 weeks, missed a spring series. It messed up. It wasn't why I didn't make Worlds, but didn't help. Went into British, fell on my face. Pass one. So my strategy of, so I competed half out double straight first, and that was my pass I could do without warming up. Like, it was so easy. And then I was on my face, and I have no recollection of how, why, what the hell happened in that pass. And I was just on my knees, and I was like, I couldn't believe it.
What was your target for that British? Was it a medal, or was it just world scores?
I just wanted to hit the world scores.
Yeah.
And then those were the 2 passes that I was going to do it on, and then I crashed it, and I was like, oh, well, that's that over. So I competed my full instead.
So when the team announcement came out, you were fine. You'd come to the kind of realization, acceptance that you weren't on the team.
I read the selection policies. I know what the scores are, and I know that the coaches stick to the, like, when you've been through it once, you know that if you've hit that score and you're ranked in that order, that's who they take. It's not favourites. It's none of that. It's done on merit.
Very fair.
It's very fair, and you know that once you're in the process. When you're outside of it, you're not sure. But but when you're in it, you know that. So straight after that first pass at British, I knew that I wasn't going to Worlds. And then then that lit a fire.
Okay. So do you think in a way it might have been good to miss that Worlds?
Oh yeah, always is. You learn more
Yeah.
from disappointment, don't you?
Yeah, because you were probably on a trajectory then. You've come off the simple passes at Europeans, and now you're up in your DD. And then you're putting pressure on it to be ready by a certain stage. So it gave you that extra few months.
Yeah, and I think 2 weeks after British or a week after British, I went to a coaching course as a guinea pig.
Okay.
Down in, I don't know where, somewhere. Anyway, I went as a guinea pig and just played. I had a load of skills on trampoline. Like Sarah and Michelle, we learn everything. Like the technical build of everything is done very carefully. Like we all learn to cruise, like vision, everything is the building blocks are really solid. So I could full in half Rudy out, like full and stuff on trampoline. But I hadn't put on mini. And then I walked out of this coaching course with like 7 mounts. I was like, oh, this is fun.
That would have been with Phil, would have been the tutor, wasn't he? And it was in Hitchin, I think.
Yeah, it was. And that was about 2 weeks after British. And that came at the right moment because I was fuming with myself for putting so much pressure on British. And then I was like, right, I'm going to prove a point here. And then got that coaching course and just, yeah. And then the week after that, I think I came second English, scored like 69, got like a message from Phil going, well, that was 3 weeks too late, wasn't it? I was like, yeah. So at that English, I proved that I was good enough. So proving to myself was enough. And then I just worked upgrades. I was like,
yeah. So then 2019, what was the difference in 2019? What changed for you?
The roller coaster. 2019, a lot happened in 2019. I got married.
Yeah.
I went away for 5 weeks. I started working in London. So I was suddenly up and down the country, and then...
What were the implications of that on your training then?
Chaos. It's a chaos. I'm someone who plans every aspect of life around training because I have to. Like my work is really demanding, but my sport comes first. So it was, okay, where can I need to be in London because I want to do this project, but I need to be able to train at the same time, or I drop the work. Like that was the choice for me.
Okay.
Not work completely. Not work completely, but like the project I was offered. And I was like, I really want to do that project, but if I can't train, then it's not a thing. So I knew that Phil's club was somewhere near there. So I was like, is there any, I had to be down there for like, it was supposed to be 2 weeks. 2 weeks in January or February 2019. And I trained whilst I was down there and trained Dynamo. And then...
Oh, you trained in both? You went between both all the time? Yeah.
So that continued. It was supposed to be 2 weeks. The project just kept getting extended, and has been indefinitely and has never ended. And so...
Are you still there on the same project now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's supposed to be 2 weeks. So yeah, these things kind of happen.
So how did you feel training with Phil? Was it a completely different... I know you've used him at squad, but training his club, was it hard to get used to? Was it a different environment?
Environment completely different. Facility completely different. So lucky. Like I was training once a week on a correct mini before that, and suddenly...
What do you mean correct mini?
So we have a 6mm mini. That's what we've competed on for, what, 4 or 5 years now. And Dynamo have one of those at one of their centres. And then another one we trained on a 1/2 inch, which is brilliant for teaching you how to get some power because they're not bouncy. We had a 1/2 inch mini and a 12 or 13 metre run. So I was pretty strong. But it meant that I couldn't always do my passes at both centres. So suddenly I went to like 3 sessions a week where I had the correct mini and the correct facilities because I was training across both clubs. The environment's different. Like I was suddenly training with 4 other Great Britain members, 4 England squad members as well. Like, and the expectation level was different. I made a stupid mistake on that coaching course. So on that coaching course, he asked me to do something. I was like, no, I can't do that. I think it was like Rudy out mount or something. I was like, I can't do that. He's like, I've just seen you do it on trampoline. I was like, yeah, but I can't do it on mini. And I walked away. And then I decided to give it a try, and it worked. and it was fine. And generally that's how every session and every plan now goes. He goes, can you do this? And I go, no. And then I walk away and I do it anyway. So that's
manipulating you. He's manipulating you.
Oh, I am well aware. I let it happen. That's the worst bit. So yeah, the expectation level's different.
So did that trigger moving for work? That triggered your change of club eventually. Was it just too much going between both?
And work, it's just the way where I was when, and it just got too complicated, and I needed rest days. So yeah. I'm not very good at those, as most people know anyway. So it was kind of like I was training when I was down there, and I was training when I was up here, and I needed to stop occasionally.
So going into the end of that year, British and World Trials, was your aim, I am going to make the Worlds team?
January 2019, I turned around to Chris, who's my partner, and went, I'm going to Tokyo. I was like, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to say it. And I don't vocalize goals very often because it makes it real and it makes you accountable for it. And I was like, I'm going to do everything possible to go to Japan. I was like, I want to go to Worlds.
And was a big part of that, was it the process of doing that, was it upgrading your difficulty?
2019 was a stressful year. Really stressful. So
because from the outsider it looks like it was massive increase in difficulty. So
from 2018 English, whatever the last comp was in 2018, to Worlds 2019, so less than a year later, we added 5.2 in difficulty.
Oh wow.
2 new dismounts, 2 new mounts, got rid of all the spotters. It was a complete overhaul, like everything. And it made for quite a stressful year, because the way I work is I have to get stuff out in competition early to then be able to polish it later. I don't put something out and it's perfect first time. I have to get it out and it go a bit wrong and then polish it eventually. So, but that meant the middle part of that year in British, I didn't look great. Like I looked all right and you could see that there was potential there, but it wasn't the finished product, but it didn't need to be. It wasn't supposed to be finished by then.
Because if you look at the difference, like at Scalabus Cup, the difference between like likes of Kim, where she was in her journey and where you are, completely 2 different places, but you got to
the same place.
Yeah.
And we work differently, and that's the best thing about coaches, is you work with your gymnast and work with what they need. And for me, I had to put that stuff out because it was massive. It was suddenly really big. And yeah, but I think the other thing that hit me in 2019 was, before that, I'd been doing passes that were so within my comfort zone. I could do them whatever day of the week it was, however bad or good I felt, I could do them. They varied in performance level, but I could do them.
Yeah.
In 2019, they were so much harder that wasn't a thing. And you can't, the realization that you can't stay at this performance level for a year, you have to peak and do periodization and planning. That wasn't something I'd ever been through before. And that was hard. Because like you can't really peak for British and peak for Worlds because of when they are.
Yeah, you have to accept that it's an upward trajectory, and you will be good at British, but you'll be your best at Worlds.
Yeah.
Did it, with that extra increase in load and stuff, did it come with any injuries or any problems?
Yeah. So 2019 was a bit difficult because it was a whirlwind. So in March I got married. So I'd been working down in London for about 3 or 4 weeks by that point, and then I got married, and then I went out of the country traveling America for 5 weeks, so no training. And then I came back, and 3 days later competed Spring Series 1.
Which everyone should know, the Spring Series is our qualification event for the British Championships, which makes it, and Worlds this year as well.
So 3 days later, I arrived in the country on the Tuesday. 3 days later, I competed in Spring Series 1 and went straight into comp season. Straight back into crazy hours of training, crazy work, crazy everything. I'd conditioned whilst I was away, but you can't replicate it. But I had to go straight back into full passes on hard landing areas, which you would never do if you didn't have to. So I shattered my fibula.
You shattered it?
Well, I snapped it, it peeled away. So 2019, I competed on a broken leg for about 4 or 5 months.
And did you know?
Yeah. A couple of us knew. Not many people knew.
I think I remember finding out, going after the fact, going, sorry, what?
Yeah. It was Well, the thing was, we found out it was broken about 3 weeks after I broke it. So I'd already been training and competing on it, and it was painful, but well, I'd managed, so well, I'll carry on. And my physio kind of went, "You're not going to make it any worse. It's like if you can cope with the pain and you want to carry on, then you can." And I wanted to go to Scalabis, and I hadn't done another international since Euros, and I wanted to compete and wanted to train. So yeah, I did a few months on a broken leg last year.
Well, at least it's not a weight-bearing bone, and it's a bit easier, yeah. But I'd like to say we don't recommend training on a broken bone, just FYI.
Just take the 6 weeks out, people. It wasn't worth it.
So then you got to British, and you did fine, and you qualified for the World's team. Would that feel good? I
was devastated with my British. I didn't show what I did in training. Again,
yeah.
That's when I get sad. So if you look at, like, I've got training videos from the weeks before British, and the passes were so much better. Like, they weren't perfect, but they were better. They were in the box, or you know what I mean. And then Britain rolled around, and I put too much pressure on. I was really scared that I wasn't going to make the World's team. I'd hit the score way earlier in the season, but I thought that was a fluke because that's how my brain works. Yeah, I know, there's a theme. So I put too much on that British.
So then, how did it feel when the announcement came out of the team final, or the World's team? Did it feel good that you'd made the team?
Just relief. And again, because you know the process, you know who's hit the score, you know who's not, and until you see it on the team sheet, you don't quite believe it, but you kind of know who's going to go. So yeah.
So what was then going towards Japan Worlds? What was the focus? What was your aim?
I don't know. The really big bit of 2019 for me actually was the World Cup in Spain the week after British. That I kind of realised I did my passes well. Like, I think I messed one of them up, and there was a tariff issue. Something went wrong with we don't talk about it. Not for me with the judging. Like, my tariff was fine. And
I'll give a brief explanation. You were doing a full half pike, and it was we did, because of the downgrade of 0.4. We thought that full half had been downgraded, but actually the dismount had been downgraded, and then you repeated that dismount the next day and lost your difficulty. It was just a misunderstanding, but it wasn't.
Mind, but if you put that tariff back in, I'd have come fourth at that World Cup. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute, like, everyone's here. Like, it was a big World Cup, like, everyone went, like, Americans, Canadians, everyone was there. Like, it was massive.
It was the second ever World Cup for DMT, but it was the first one everyone attended, so it was like a mini Worlds.
It was, and it was so much fun. Like, I have not had so much fun at a competition. There was only like 4 of us. There was 4 senior DMT and 2 coaches, and we just had such a great week. Like, me and Kim, we just had such a great week. And I learned a lot of that comp.
That gave you confidence going into the Worlds.
Yeah. And then we tried to go for Worlds. Yeah.
So talk us through what happened at Worlds, because obviously we know now what happened, but you tell us about the prelims.
I did my pass 1, and it's probably the best pass I've ever done in comp.
Yeah, good.
That was so good. Like, I did pike top out back in full in the box, one little step, and it was PB score for 1 pass, and I was just so elated that I'd done it on the big stage, and that we'd gone through. Like, if you look at that pass at British, it looked like a car crash. It wasn't, but you know what I mean. And we built it, and the process had worked, and I trusted the process, and it had got me to the right place. And then I crashed my second pass.
What was in that moment? What was the feeling?
Confusion. I don't remember it. Like, I'd done, you know how I train, I'd done hundreds of that pass, and they might not have all been great, but they all landed, and then I didn't land. And I just kind of thought back.
You go into like automatic mode, and when something doesn't go wrong, you're not able to understand because you're in that automatic mode.
I guess so. Looking back, I just didn't quite push hard enough. It was really straight. It's probably one of the best straight footballs I've ever done. It was just about 10 degrees short of rotation, and then I put my knee down, and I was like, oh, and then it was done. And it was a bit surreal, really. Like, that whole week was quite hard, though. Traveling to Japan, it's a very long way. Like, it's exhausting, and it takes you about 3 days. I was really ill on the second day. Like, there was like on the second day we were there, I think I was lying in a room with like ice packs attached to ankles and I couldn't sleep. I was really, I'm quite ill. Like they wouldn't let me train, and then, well, you know, I went training anyway.
Yeah.
So I struggled the whole week. I found it really hard compared to Azerbaijan.
Yeah, completely different. Then, so you obviously you'd made, once you crashed, you knew you weren't making the individual final. But did you think you weren't going to do the team final as well? And how did that feel when you realised you were going to be in the team final?
So the week before Worlds, I had a utter meltdown, and there was no point in me going. And what was the point in me? I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to make the team final. I wasn't going to be any use. Like, why was I going? This, that, and the other. And Phil just turned around and went, "Don't count on that." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, if you do your pass as well as you can do it, and I see it in training, you're going to win the team final." I was like, "Whatever. No, I won't." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." Now I'm going to have to do it again. And that was a roller coaster of, I've just done a really amazing pass, and then I've crashed, and now I've got to do it again, but in 3 up 3 count. Which
I think the pass that you crashed was your team final pass as well.
No, it wasn't. Thankfully, it was the other one. Okay. Sadly, I didn't do it as well as I did it in individual, and that devastated. I didn't give the team my best. No, that's not true. I gave the team my best I could do on the day, and I did my pass in a team final, which in itself is quite hard. It's really stressful, and I did my best on the day, but I didn't do the best I could do with that pass. So that was a bit.
How did it feel? Again, it's probably the same as Europeans, but 2015 the women win the silver medal, 2017 win the silver medal, and 2019 they're 0.1 behind the Russians going to the final. Was the expectation or that you were going to win?
There wasn't an expectation we were going to win, because you look at the 5 teams in the world who are in that final, and whoever puts 3 to the box nicely wins. Like, that could be anyone on the day. And the USA put 3 passes in the box, and they deserved to win. And they were brilliant. So no, there wasn't an expectation that we would win. I think we were gutted that we didn't. And I was gutted that I didn't do my best, because I think I swore on BBC. I forgot, but my grandma messaged me afterwards going, "You've just sworn on live television." I was like, "I'm sorry." I was just, yeah.
I can imagine your personality, because you would have worked out, if I had done this, this, and this, we would have got this many points. And
also, had I crashed, we wouldn't have got a world silver. So you can look at it 2 ways, but that took me a good few months to be able to do that side of it. But immediately afterwards, it's like, well, if I'd just done what I'd done in individual prelims, we'd have won. But you can't do that, because you can't.
It happened in sport.
Yeah, I did my pass, and in the first world final, and I'm a world silver medalist. That's quite cool.
So was the overall feeling of Worlds from that? What was it? After you finished, after you reflected on it and everything?
Just a roller coaster. Again, like, it was a really tough week. And some really good bits and some really rubbish bits.
I think that's what people don't always get, is that it's not fun all the time. We go to these lovely countries, but it's tough work, you know? And it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And bits of it are quite boring. Like, that sounds really bad, but like, a lot of the time you sit in a hotel, or you sit in a comp venue, or you sit on a bus. And we were really lucky in Japan. Like, we got to go and explore. And that was amazing, and I'm so grateful we got to do that, because it gave you some headspace, and that's what I need. I need distracting from what we're doing, like, and that's how I work. So, but yeah, it's not all fun.
No. So looking forward then, obviously you went to your trials, you won the trial, you're probably looking some of the strongest you've ever looked, and you're selected for your second Europeans. Did you always know in your back of your head it was probably going to be cancelled?
Not at that point, no. Once we got a week or so after the trial, it became pretty obvious it was probably going to be cancelled. But in the run up to the trial, no, that hadn't even crossed my mind that it would be cancelled. So, and
had you already put down an expectation of what you wanted from that Europeans?
I wanted to qualify to go to Europeans first.
Well, you had done it, and the announcement had come out that you were selected. Before they cancelled the event, had you thought of what you wanted to achieve at that Europeans?
I'm process driven, not outcome driven. Okay. So it was all about what passes I wanted to put down, and what I wanted to show that I could do in training, in terms of, and redeem myself a little bit from Worlds. So kind of, no, I don't have outcome goals because then you can't control them.
Yeah. And I think in terms of the Great British team at the moment, the girls, any given day, one of you can go above the other, and it's...
Have such an amazing team, like, and they're all amazing, and anyone could be in any final, and that's brilliant depth. But it's really hard work. Sometimes I wish I was maybe this good about 6-7 years ago, but that's not how it works, is it?
Sometimes I think it's harder to be the top 2 Brit than it is to get into the final. Because if you're top 2 Brit now, you're probably going to make...
And then it's, okay, so you want to be top 2 Brit, so you have to put your best passes in the prelims. So
then you have to have 2 really good passes for the finals.
Which is what we've been trying to play the long game of in 2019. It was like, okay, we could keep the spotters, but then how are we going to get those finals passes? Like, how are we going to do that? Because if we don't start working them now, they're never going to be ready. We've been playing the long game for a good 18 months of making sure that I still had, like, if I'd somehow made a world final or Euros final, I still had the same tariff left in the final.
Yeah.
I'm quite evenly spread across the 4, which I'm quite proud of.
So looking forward, are you happy that it's going to be in Sochi, Russia in 2021?
I'm just so happy it's going to happen. I was devastated that Euros wasn't happening because I was fit. I wasn't injured. I had a plan and it was all going to plan. Like, that Euros trial just worked. Like, meltdowns before that trial, you have no idea.
Oh, I do. I've heard.
Oh, no, you know. Everyone else watching doesn't know. There was a lot of stress in that build-up because I didn't think I was going to make the Euros team, which looking back is really quite stupid of me. But so I was like, why are we risking new stuff at the trial? Like, it's not ready, this, that, and the other. And obviously it was so it would be ready for Euros. But so I'm gutted because I was ready for Euros. Everything was in place, like where I was training, when my program, S&C, injury, everything was ready, and then it's gone. So that's been really hard.
But the good thing is that everyone's in the same boat.
Exactly. Can't control it. Now I've got another year to be maybe a bit better.
So looking even beyond that again, is World Games a goal of yours? So obviously it's been moved to 2022. Is World Games one of your goals in the future?
I'd love to go. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Absolutely love to go. It's our Olympics. But I can't set it as a goal because it's dependent on everyone else. There's one face, and I'd say the British girls team is the best team in the world. I know we didn't win worlds, but in terms of depth and in terms of what we can do, it's a fight for that spot, and whoever gets it, I can't set it as a goal because it's not just for me. And also,
if you take out the 4 I'm interviewing in this series, you've also got Phoebe, Caitlin, Kira, Arafili, and then Maddie stepping up as well.
There's loads. Like, anyone could go, and everyone's amazing. So you can't. And the other thing with that year is you end up with Euros and Worlds bookending. World Games, trying to peak 3 times is impossible. So you don't want to end up trying to go for World Games and messing up the other 2 as well. So it will be focus on Euros, focus on Worlds, maybe, if I'm lucky, get to go to World Games.
And I should explain for people who don't know maybe that World Games is a multi-sport games that has, it's like our Olympics, but it's for sports that aren't in the Olympics. So that's why our pinnacle, it's every 4 years like the Olympics, but it's just not in the same year. So think back on your whole career. Have you got a highlight? Like a one highlight of your career that you can think of?
Making that Euros team. That Saturday morning when I found out, I was just so happy.
Yeah.
I'd started the sport as an adult, and then I was going to represent my country. Like, what? How did that happen? And someone said something at the end of 2017 that was like, well, you're not going to get any further. You've pretty much, you've capped out where you are. You've done really well, don't get me wrong, but you've capped out. And I went, no.
I think you're fine.
I think you'll find I'm not done. So I had a point to prove, and I hit that goal. That was amazing. That was so far.
And you're not done yet. So do you think starting late, because obviously you started 16 at just a 1 hour a week, whatever, rec class. Do you think starting late, never being a junior, has hindered your progress?
I don't know. What do you think? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think because it's really interesting because if like I said earlier on, if you came to most clubs at your age and your level, there wouldn't have been a place for you, but you've gone on to be one of the top in the world. So
that still sounds weird, Simon.
But it's an eye-opener, I think. And it's an inspiration maybe to people.
I think it's really important, because had I gone anywhere else, I can't think of any, knowing clubs now, I can't think of anywhere else that I'd have gone and been treated as well and with as much attention and care and drive that Sarah Michelle gave me when I started there. They got an older teenager who couldn't somersault to world championships, European and world silver medalist, like at age 26 or whatever I was when I went. Like that's unheard of. And that's credit to them. And my hard work. Like I just work really hard because I love it.
I think it's a big lesson to people as well, is that I don't know if you've watched The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, but he's just all about hard work. He's very talented, but he talks about his talent being his hard work. So you talked about your coaches and stuff there in your club. So what's it been like working with different coaches? Like what each coach, what's the biggest impact they've had on your career?
So I've had 3 coaches pretty much, like 3 personal. So Sarah Michelle and Phil. So Sarah Michelle were a brilliant team. Like they just bounced off each other perfectly. Like so Sarah would often focus on the technical side and Michelle would be like, let's try a new skill. So like you'd get a bit of both, which was really important. They made me love the sport. Like they love it. And that's why I work hard, because I love it too. Like
it's infectious.
It's infectious. They believed in me. Like they believed I could do anything. So that gave me confidence. And they gave me a technical foundation that I can't get rid of. Like everything was taught properly. There was no shortcuts. We didn't do a skill because it would quickly add tariff. We learned back in full, or we learned full. We waited until the cruising stuff was ready. So that technical foundation, but belief in me, and love for the sport. And then, and Phil expectation level, just through the roof. Like, I don't think he understands the words can't or no. It's not a thing. So that expectation level has changed. And
I think for someone who doesn't always believe that they can do it, someone knowing that you can do it is very important.
And all of my coaches, they've never asked me to do something I'm not capable of. So, and then I do it and go, oh, I can do that. So next time they ask me to do something that I don't think I can do, all the evidence in my head goes, well, last time you did do it, so it'll probably be all right this time. The other impact, I guess, from Phil is his background in sport. So like not just the coaching side, the technical side. So strength and conditioning, injury prevention, like periodization, planning, like prehab, the extra stuff that has been added in the last year has made a big difference as well. So. His
experience as a world gymnast probably helps towards that. Yeah. So looking at your support network, obviously you've got your coaches you just talked about, but how important or how different is it having a husband who was in the sport? Because obviously Chris was on England's squad, he was a high level competitor, he competed internationally for England. What's it like having a husband?
He gets it. He gets it. I can just come in and be happy or be sad and he'll understand and properly understand. Like, I don't know, my mum goes, yeah, great. Or, you know, like she's sympathetic, but she can't understand it. And Chris can. And he knows when to leave me alone and he knows when to just make sure I'm okay.
Like Chris has had, I know a bit about his background. He's had skill confusion. He's had big injuries. So he can probably understand the whole mental build up through it.
Yeah, he's my rock.
Do you have to get him to chill out sometimes, or is he good at knowing when to push and when to step back?
He just lets me be me. I don't need pushing. I just need him to be there for me, and he does that.
Brilliant. So have you any, like in terms of your support structure as well, do you talk to your GB teammates a lot? Do you have a lot of communication with each other? Are they good support?
Yeah, they're great. There's so many, I think Kim said it, group chats, just all the time. And they understand. Like, there's not many people in the world who can relate to what we're trying to do. And you know that they can.
Yeah.
So that always
Do you
helps.
feel like you wouldn't have pushed yourself to the level you're at if you weren't competing against these girls for spaces? And
no way. Like, if they step up, well, you have to. So if they step up their tariff or difficulty or their overall score, well, I've got to do the same, haven't I? So,
yeah.
And if the expectation that they're putting on you isn't there, then you're not as good. The depth is what's pushing this country forward. Like,
yeah, definitely. So because that depth's there, do you look outside to international competitors, to the ones you look up to, or is there enough within Great Britain that you don't need to?
Up until mid last year, I didn't look anywhere else because why would I?
Yeah.
And then I went to Scalabits, and I remember seeing the Canadians and I think the Spanish, I think Melania was there.
Yeah.
They were doing the same skills that I was upgrading to. Mine weren't clean, they weren't ready, but it was like, oh, she's doing straight flip off mount, so am I. Like, and it just started to click that they were doing what I was doing, and these names that I knew of, that maybe I could be as good as them one day. And then the same happened at Spain at the World Cup, and just started to open my eyes a little bit that maybe I'm not just okay in Britain, maybe I'm okay a bit further around the world too.
Well, yeah, you are. The thing is, if you're one of the top in Britain, it goes by thing that you're one of the top in the world now, and that's a lucky position we've got to.
Yes, a bit surreal.
Okay. So, looking forward again to the new codes coming in DMT. Are you aware of the new code? I'm sure you are.
Of course I am.
Yeah. So, what do you think about it? It's coming in 2022, so the World Games will be in the new code. So, what do you think of the new code for you?
I guess the first thing is, when something like that happens, I take the positives out of it because I can't control it anyway. There's no point looking at it and going, well, that's awful for me, this, that, and the other, because, well, there's nothing I can do. Personally, I don't like it for the sport. I love the variety. I love having 4 passes to train. I think 2 passes will just be a bit of a shame. But that's not up to me, so I'll make the best of it. And it means that tariff works more, which plays to my strengths. So, and had it stayed as 4, my brain would have gone, well, variety is my strength because I've got 4 good passes. So that's kind of how my brain works. But yeah, tariff works for me too. So I'll do that.
in terms of you're saying only 2 passes, obviously in the code of points, you don't have to just do 2 passes. You can do different ones when you get to the finals and stuff. Do you think that's something you would look at if you enjoy training variety, or would you technically think about what would get you the biggest score?
It will all be meticulously planned out as to what's going to work best. All of my coaches I've ever had, everything goes off everything. Yeah. I'm not someone who can only do this dismount with this mount. Like, everything gets trained with everything, and everything can be pick and mix together as to what suits, because I think that's really important. And all of my coaches have always thought the same. It means if something goes wrong, then you can put it with something else, and it's no big deal. So that's important. And then it will be a numbers game. And a numbers game in terms of what will score well, but risk versus reward as well. So we'll play and we'll see what happens.
It's one of those things we don't really know until we get into it, how it's going to play out.
I'm quite glad we've got another Euros and Worlds under the old code though. Yeah. I'm quite glad of that. And then we've got like another whole year of our 4 passes, and then we'll change and we'll be a new sport, and we'll see what that's like.
So coming towards the end of the interview now, we've kind of gone over time a little bit, but there's been so much to talk about. It's been fantastic. So I want you to say, I've asked the other ones what you would tell a kid coming in, but I want you to think more about what would you tell a maybe 15, 16-year-old, especially maybe if they've done trampoline and not maybe achieving and they want to do a bit of double mini, or they've never done the sport before, or they're just at a level where they think they might not be pushing for national teams. What would you say to a 15, 16-year-old kid now? Biggest piece of advice.
Dream big and just go for it. Like, find a coach who pushes you and you trust, and who believes in you and doesn't mind that you're 16 and just starting out, and work hard, because it's the catchphrase, isn't it? Hard work beats talent. It does. Yeah. I don't consider myself a talented person, and other people might disagree with that, but I credit my success to how hard I will work, and work hard and love it, because actually hard work, it doesn't feel like hard work to me. I would happily run at a mini all day if I was allowed. Like, genuinely, I get dragged off the mini at squats. Like,
that's cool. So I think that's where Concord ends now. We're going to finish up, but it's been amazing speaking to you. You've got such a different journey to everyone else that I really wanted to speak to today. And sometimes we don't get enough time at competitions and camps to really get into the nitty gritty. So thanks for joining me today, Ruth.
No, thanks, Simon. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was. And I'm sure I'm going to see you in the not so distant future.
Cheers.
Okay, thanks.